What is going on, guys? It's your boy Tanvi the Bengal Dragon, and welcome to another episode of Casual Classic Cinema Chat. And today we're going to talk about two movies briefly. First one is the first Thor movie, and the second one is the Wonder Woman movie. Let's start off with Thor. Okay, now I am not a comic book guy. Okay, if my channel hasn't made it clear already, I'm not a comic book guy. I'm not a Dragon Ball Z guy. I'm not a Dokkan Battle guy. I've stopped even being a wrestling guy because I think wrestling is horrible. It's one of the most outdated forms of entertainment out there. So I'm just a casual movie guy, maybe occasionally casual game guy. Used to be a music guy, but work is too intense for me, and I'm more of an advocacy guy for the blind and visually impaired. Okay, but this Thor movie, I thought, what's his name? Chris Hemsworth. He pulled it off pretty well, and the set pieces, the set pieces that were used for Asgard and the World Tree and whatnot, they were done very well. In fact, they were done so well. And yes, I am a God of War fan. I'm a very, very big God of War fan. It was done so well that for a moment and this was before Disney took over the MCU, or at least what I believe. Like I might be wrong, but I think the first Thor movie was made before Disney took over MCU. But I thought that MCU were ripping off a God of War. I had to constantly tell myself, no, this one came first. This one came first. This one came first. I'm not saying God of War ripping it off is a bad thing. They ripped off some. They imitated something good and did not defile it. Like you have the Dante's Inferno. That's imitating something good and then defiling it. This one did not defile it. In fact, this one put their own twist on it. The acting, it's it was interesting to see from Chris Hemsworth because his portrayal of being an arrogant, pompous, arrogant, pompous guy to someone who's much more down to earth and who's much more empathetic. More importantly, that was very important to see, and in terms of like character development, the interaction with the that random white girl was or that random white looking girl. I don't know if she's of another ethnicity. Uh, it was all right. It wasn't anything special, but I will have to say, my problem with the movie was the awkward camera angles, and I believe the nostalgia critic has actually made this a point. Most of the movie is actually shot at an angle, like it's like like you have to turn your head either this way or this way, for many scenes. And believe me, OU, it is very, very disorienting, especially if you're someone who's visually impaired and watches everything from up close. Very disorienting. So because of that, I cannot give this movie more. It's like because now we got used to Endgame, we got used to Infinity Wars, we got used to Joker, so you can't unwatch these. So I give it a 5.75 out of 10. Not something to look over again. Wonder Woman, on the other hand, now, I've actually asked around about this, and yes, there, the actual lore of Wonder Woman is a bit more graphic, apparently, because they're that type of tribe, or at least that's what I heard. Who basically lure in ships with males, and then basically uh, hurts them, if you will. But Gal Gadot, I will say, Okay, this movie, it can be broken down in two parts. One big part is the beginning, or the clumping of, oh sorry, three parts, like, or three acts. The first act, it's they tell some lore, and like I said, I'm not a comic book person, so the moment you involve Greek mythology, the first thing that comes to my mind is God of War. Because, like it or not, God of War, its impact is so great that it got people reinterested in Greek mythology. So, so yeah, this whole war with Ares and Zeus and everything, I'm like, okay. And actually, I was just watching this movie, like I was just scrolling through my channels. I'm like, okay, I just watched a movie. I'm like, whoa, God of War, Ares, Zeus. I'm like, wow, it's a God of War movie? And then like I I pressed circle on my PS4 controller because I'm watching a PlayStation View. I think Wonder Woman? Like, is this a Wonder Woman ripoff? And then I asked around, and everyone said no, that's the real Wonder Woman movie. I'm like, okay, people have been saying it's pretty good. Okay, so the first part was actually done pretty well. Okay, um, the exposition was done well enough. Although I would have loved to have seen a bit more of the storytelling between mother and daughter, and like hiding the fact that she is the weapon, she is the god killer. You know, and I'm sorry, the power to kill a god. Okay, Pandora's box. Okay, yeah, that's God of War. Okay, then the second part of the movie was the one where I was the most annoyed. I'm like, ugh, oh, she's trying to fit into World War One civilization, and she's trying to pseudo virtue signal everyone, and I'm like, whatever. No, I mean at that time I didn't realize it was like that much. It was like World War One, but like that. But I mean, I sort of did, but I thought it was a twist. But no, you had General Ludendorff dressed like M Bison from Street Fighter, and you had a girl with goggles on her head, supposed to be a scientist. They trap they trap the German consulate, or the German delegation, or the German higher ups. They trap them in a room which includes a guy that looks like the face on the Pringles chips. They trap them in a room, and they douse them with like chlorine gas or something. So so she invented chemical warfare, huh? Okay. Okay. And then when Wonder Woman said like, I have to defeat Ares because Ares is General Ludendorff, and then Wonder Woman destroys Ares, like kills General Ludendorff. I'm like, what? Wonder Woman killed General Ludendorff, and General Ludendorff was there in World War II. I'm like, okay, timeout movie. Now see, here's something. Okay, why Metal Gear Solid 3 story worked, as ludicrous as it was, is because it was not retcon. On retrograde, it did not break the lore. Okay? The Allies still won in World War II. Okay, albeit due to some fancy a group of people called the Cobra Unit. Okay, uh, a 15 or 16-year-old girl or 14-year-old girl gave birth to Revolver Ocelot. Okay, okay, that doesn't change the fact that Germany lost World War II. Okay, and like eh, Hitler died then, but General Ludendorff dying in World War One by Wonder Woman's hands, and then we know that General Ludendorff was there in World War II in the real world. That's the problem. Let's say, let me give you another example. Let's say Captain America, okay? If there was a comic that Captain America killed Hitler in 1945, on the same date or like right after, a few days after that, as he was trying to escape or something like that, that wouldn't be a problem. However, if they released a comic that Captain America, killed Hitler like when he was like 3 years old or something like that, that would be a problem because that would be lore breaking with what happened in the real world. Since the story of Wonder Woman is so much tied into the real world, it's like a Metal Gear Solid game. Okay, it's so much tied into the real world. That's what bothered me the most. And then you have the British delegation turned out to be Ares. So this is Act Three. Okay, and when I use the Hitler example, it's just an example. Okay, it could be anyone. It could be just like John Smith, or yeah, it could be like someone like John Smith, who actually died in 1980, but some comic book says that like he died in 1920, like he was killed by some superhero in 1920, when in real life he died in 1980, and this comic book that is set in the real world says that he died in 1920. Okay, so you have the final act where the British delegation turns out to be Ares, and this was done pretty well, and where like Diane, what's her name? Diana? Yeah. Gal Gadot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Her name in the movie taps into her like ultimate power or god-killing power. That was done very well as well. And yes, um, and then you have somewhat of the epilogue. Okay, this entire movie was a flashback. Okay, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I respect them for taking the risk, but for me personally, it did not work. For me personally, I found that to be a little boring because I saw the beginning part. I'm like, okay, you're just typing into a laptop. Where is this typing thing going? Is it gonna go anywhere? No, it's the entire movie is essentially a journal entry. Okay, I applaud them for taking the risk, but I found that personally to be a bit boring. So, Wonder Woman, I'll have to give it a 6 out of 10. I'm sorry, I don't like people give it 8 out of 10. I don't know. No, for me personally, it's a 6 out of 10. It's a decent movie. It's a Gal Gadot acted well enough, but for me, I just don't like the Wonder Woman universe. That it's too tied into the real world. Alright, that's about it, guys. Let me know what you thought about these two movies in the comment section below. As always, hit that like, subscribe, bell notification button. This is your boy Tanveer Sai, the Bengal Dragon, signing out.